Hello, CRN fam and audience. I'm so glad to be here with you. My name is Cass Cooper, and welcome to the Channel Angle. I'm here with Kelly as well as Wade. How are y'all doing today?
Doing well.
Awesome.
I'm glad to hear it. So, Wade, tell us a little bit about your role at CRN.
Thanks, Cass. So I'm a senior associate editor at CRN, and I've been covering a lot of the AI era as we're in it, and also a lot of cloud computing. Vendors I focus on are mostly Microsoft, IBM.
You do such a great job in reporting for us, so I appreciate that. And it gives us a good background to lead into talking to people who are in the trenches and really working on the things that we report on. So, Kelly, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am Kelly Ye, president of Phalanx Technology. We are an MSP just outside the DC metro area in Chantilly, Virginia. I've been a Microsoft partner for 20 years. Obviously, the evolution of, the Microsoft partner over the last 20 years has been just dramatic, and it's actually accelerated in the last like 5 or 6 years. So just trying to keep up with all the technology and try to not get caught on the wrong side of adoption, right? Like you can adopt too early or you can adopt too late. So, that's our big thing right now is like we try to keep our clients, we say on the leading edge, but not on the bleeding edge.
That's actually a really good tagline. Do you have merch for that? We need some of that like in the channel so we can be representing you on the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. So we're here to talk a little bit about AI and Copilot and Microsoft specifically. We did a previous episode talking about AI adoption and Google, and we want to make sure that we are accurately representing all different sides of the channels. Wade, I'm going to start with you. Tell us where we are about Copilot and what we need to know just to get us grounded in our conversation today.
Yeah, definitely, Cass. And this is why I'm definitely glad to have Kelly on to keep me honest, to let me know that my maybe more business user perspective on AI, what is Microsoft is definitely, leading, trying to lead in this AI era. They have been investing heavily in their vast portfolio of AI offerings, whether that is baking AI capabilities into the products, whether that is standalone offerings, and they've been, really incenting partners to also carry this torch into the AI era, right? Preaching to the choir, but you need your solution provider to really stand up the technology, make sure it works, make sure it does what is either promised or what the customer thinks is going to happen. I always say that if customers kind of try AI and end up not liking it, how long are they going to write it off for and really miss out on what is this just kind of next era of basic level computing, if not getting dazzled by some of the real more fascinating use cases. Yeah, Microsoft's really, really heavy into this, investing it,
The interesting thing is that not just the financial investment that Microsoft is pulling, right? It's the investment in the training and the upskilling and creating more space for not just themselves internally is in the landscape of AI, but also talking about how they're doing that for their partners and in the ecosystem. So, Kelly, as Microsoft is bringing these things to the forefront, how are you advising clients who are integrating, for instance, Copilot into their workflows? And I guess maybe the first question is, are you using Copilot in your workflow, and what's been your thought process around it?
So again, not to not be on the bleeding edge of things, we kind of took a very targeted approach to AI and the Copilot adoption. We have a limited rollout at our organization at Phalanx. So right now it's just me and my VP of services. We are looking to see what kind of efficiencies we can gain and where we can actually streamline workflows. The big thing is like with AI, they promise everything. But really the only thing that really a lot of people understand AI to be is like, oh, well, it can digest a lot of information and give me a quick summary, or it can generate an email or a memo or a document or an Excel spreadsheet or whatever for me easier than I can like type it out, right? Like so far, that's like what people think the primary use case are. However, with these agents and the Agent Studio, you can actually create a bunch of different workflows, anything that you can automate, anything that you can hook into. And obviously Microsoft being as large as they are, everyone's going to want to ultimately have, pre-baked Copilot, hook-ins. So as those connections get made more and more, and there's already a bunch in the studio like that you can get like pre-canned. The way I would look at it is you need to know what the output that you want it to be and how you want it to look before you can really truly implement AI correctly. Let's say I'm a CFO. I want to get a P&L statement for every quarter from all the different business units, and I want just a quick executive summary pie chart. You got to at least know what that looks like before you've had to have that done before you can have Copilot accurately produce that information for you, because it will digest what you've done before and output that in the future with the new information. So you just have to know what you want, basically.
Yeah, I think that, it's almost turning us all into prompt engineers, right? We got to figure out a way. Okay, what is the thing that I want it to look like on the other end? How do I want to use this information in this data? And you got to be able to verify the accuracy of it, right? So Wade, have there been any fail-safes that have come to the forefront about the concern that people are having with the accuracy, right? If I'm a CFO, as Kelly said, when I put in something and I'm expecting it to come out with a true profit and loss statement, I got to be able to verify that accuracy, right? I got to report that out. And if I don't, that's my role and my responsibility. What is these large language models, these AI, what does the trust and accuracy look like there?
Yeah. I'm definitely curious for Kelly's take, but my understanding of it is that, we're still kind of writing, I don't know if you'd call it the grammar or the context, right? But when can we trust these things? When can't we trust them? We're still saying there's still going to be a long time before they're used for the most mission critical sort of use cases, I would imagine. But I think these tools have come a long way in terms of grounding and context and limiting the data sets they have, maybe taking them away from public internet to avoid that hallucination issue, or really decrease it. So some solution providers are finding ways to increase that accuracy and get a better output from these items, kind of like what Kelly's speaking to. But I also report a lot on Salesforce that has really been hammering how some of these other tools out there that maybe are too influenced by information from the public internet, that they are the ones that are not going to be enterprise ready, as opposed to AI tools that are, more so leaning in on proprietary data from the enterprise so that it can give you specific output from your systems. And those are the tools that you're going to trust to have more access to your internal systems, as opposed to something that could, create a rogue agent or something like that. So these are the conversations I keep hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to go back though, because I think you made a really good point about the difference between public internet data and internal data. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about those two differences, as you talk to your clients and making it clear to them, where the lines are? Because it's not using Copilot is not the same as going out into ChatGPT, for instance, and saying, I just want to do this research, or Claude, or whatever that looks like, or Perplexity, or it's very different than what it's utilizing your internal structures, as I understand it. But make it clear for me.
Okay, so there is a free Copilot that you can use that's internet-based. It's shareable. There's also ChatGPT. And if you start looking at those two AI systems, the generative AIs, they're starting to get homogenized in terms of their outputs, right? Because the data sets are all the same. It's the whole internet. And some of the queries, when you're getting hit with billions of queries, the queries are starting to become the same. And so now, ChatGPT is like, I already found the answer to this. Here you go. Here's the answer. Here's the answer, right? So now people are trying to manipulate those outputs to give you bad outputs, right? So before it was just like, okay, this is the best answer. And now what you're getting is people who are like, give me the wrong answer, right? Like, how do you take over the world and lie to me on these things, right? Like they're literally putting in search criteria to try to make those other outputs damaged, right? So, and you're getting homogenized damn outputs now from these public AIs. Copilot, when you roll it out into your tenant. So I'm going to get really geeky here for a second.
Let's do it. Here for it.
So as an MSP, you need to make sure that your data sets have conditional access set correctly, as well as Entra ID set up correctly. It's all based upon role-based access. So if I give it to an intern, he should not be able to see the same data sets as the CFO. If an intern in the finance department says, I need a report on X, his output should be different than if the CFO says, I need a report on X, because the CFO's data sets should theoretically be larger. Now, that being said, that also means you have to fight the data hoarding problem that every company out there has. Every client that I have has got the problem of data hoarding. I could still find entire C drives of Windows 95 machines hidden on networks somewhere because people just were afraid to lose something. What they don't realize is that data management puts in all of this stuff. And because AI is so fast at digesting the information, if it digests bad data, let's say you have an old position paper or an old research paper, and it's on there, and it says, this is the definitive position of company X blah. But you guys have since changed because that was written in 1997 and it was Word, 98. And now you've got the new version of that. Copilot will mingle those because it won't know which one is the real data set, right? So you have to clean up your data sets. You have to go to your clients. You have to say, you got to do the hard thing and say, this is what's real and this is actually garbage. Whether you archive it so that they don't lose it, because God forbid you delete anything in this world.
Especially from 1997.
Exactly, because it's so useful. But that's the problem, is that you've got people who've got data who just refuse to do it, And then the other thing that Copilot is not smart enough to parse, and neither am I actually, so it's not even AI, it's real people, is when you go, I've got the final version of this PowerPoint presentation versus the final version of this PowerPoint presentation versus the for distribution version of this PowerPoint presentation. And if the material in there is different, you're going to get different outputs. So again, part of it is your data sets have to be clean. The other thing is Copilot is very much linked to permissions. You want to make sure that when you assign a person a Copilot license, that they're only allowed to see the data that they're allowed to see, right? Like if they're a salesperson, you don't want them to see the commission structure for everybody. So you don't give them the same permission level as the sales manager. The sales manager is going to be able to see, he's probably going to have some Excel spreadsheet of whatever. But if you give the same exact permissions to sales manager to salesperson might be able to see what the other people's compensations are, right? So that's one of the real fears of improperly rolling out AI is that because AI is going to crawl through whatever data sets it's allowed to crawl through. So it's not just a matter of just turning it on. And this is what I've been trying to tell my clients. It's not just a matter of just turning it on. It's not a matter of saying, I trust all of my people. You can trust everybody, but AI will still output things that they may not realize that they were not supposed to ask if it has access to it. So you want to make sure that you have your lanes set up correctly, your permissions set up correctly. And at a minimum, when you go to Security Center in Microsoft, you should have a minimum of 80 in your security score. The average is like in the 60s. 70s is really good. And to get to 80, that's all the conditional access stuff. And that doesn't even include the content, right? So having the conditional access and all the security set up correctly is one thing. Then the data sets is another thing. So the infrastructure, the configuration, that's on the MSP. The data sets are on the client. Usually try to have them have a dirty data set and a clean data set. And we say Copilot's only going to look at the clean data set, move things from the dirty side to the clean side. And if somebody screws that up, depending on the MSP, that's on the
Yeah. So it's not about just being concerned about the output and what you want something to look at. You really do have to clean up your cybersecurity structure, like making sure you have the right stacks in place, making sure that you have the right data in place, access permissions, that you don't just have an open source like access to everything.
Yeah. I feel like we see that in terms of external AI use as well, because I just learned this morning that there is a consumer website that I use, and I saw online people figured out that you can use the AI chatbot to get around their paywall for certain information. So that leads me to asking you about, if you're talking to your clients, not only about internal use, but also external use, and maybe how are you starting to see it in production, how far away we are from production, that sort of side of the equation.
So every client is kind of a little different. We've got some clients who aren't producing externally facing things. I've got other clients who will use it to like edit emails and things like that, or to do email summaries, or to help with scheduling. The problem is, as with everything else, it's that there is a big push for it. And then the gotchas don't really come out until the population is big enough to start seeing what's going to trip you up. I think we're at that adoption phase. Our early adopters are already been out there. Copilot's been available for the last 2 years for partners to roll out. So it's not like it's a brand new product. It's actually been out in the wild, so to speak. Microsoft has built some agents so you can get pre-canned agents like Microsoft for Sale, Copilot for Sales, Copilot for this industry, Copilot for that industry. And then you'll see like other hook-ins, right? You'll see third-party hook-ins on the backside to Copilot as well. So you're starting to see the ecosystem get there. And I think the big thing now is for the partners to get educated on what it takes. It's still new enough that I would say a very small percentage of the partners out there have an idea of how to roll this out. Like I said, I have been going through this process. We've been looking at it. We've been evaluating it. We've done limited rollouts at clients, but you really don't know until you start poking at it. And I can see the benefit, like the scale of it, right? Like
Yeah.
I was, looking at it from our industry, right? Like if I can figure out a way to merge tickets that need to be merged, if I can have it acknowledge all of the service tickets that come in that flood your your ticketing system on the weekends, because of updates and of things of being rebooted and everything else, like those are things that need to be acknowledged that can help somebody, save the time of going through hundreds of alerts, right?
So it sounds like though the AI has the potential to increase productivity, but it's just going to take a little while to actually put that in practice. Would you find that accurate, Kelly?
Yeah, and you'd have to know your own workflows and which
Yeah.
which workflows should be automated.
Yeah.
So, that's the big thing. You can't automate everything. You can't cut the corner on everything. I have a policy internally where I said, hey, if you generate something with AI, you have to disclose that in the email or in the document itself that, AI was used to generate this. And when asked why, I was like, because if you're allowing it to use open source internet sources, it might be using copyrighted information.
Okay, so I want to pivot just a little bit and talk about a comparison, right? We've got a lot of different AI agents and AI opportunities in the market right now. And the biggest two seem to be Copilot and Gemini, right? Wade, what are you seeing as the comparisons here between a Microsoft instance and a Google instance with those AI components?
It's interesting to see how customer demand in the AI space continues to evolve, because I feel like really early on, there was a notion that this was going to be a big consolidation play. If you were on Microsoft, you're going to consolidate everything around Microsoft to get the most out of the AI output. If you were in Google already, you're going to consolidate around Google to get the most out of the AI output. Now, I think there's a recognition that a lot of customers have, hodgepodge systems, maybe between Microsoft and Google, maybe between legacy vendors. I feel like that's where a lot of this AI agent conversation is starting to go. Well, if the agent can't access legacy data or data from my homegrown system, am I really getting a complete picture? A lot of Microsoft partners, I feel like, usually work with customers that are all in on Microsoft, and maybe this is less of an issue. But as you're trying to win net new customers that are coming from a different system, this is where I feel like the importance of all these tools working together really becomes important. Now, that to be said, in terms of the quality of them, that it feels so hard to judge, because there's all these public benchmarks about which tool is the best one, but then you have all these variables where you can achieve more with the product given what you're doing. And then we're starting to see the business model emerge where, okay, these certain requests, this will be a premium request, so it might cost more, or maybe I go with the consumption model. So I almost hesitate to say this tool is better than the other one, just given how many variables can factor. And all these models are kind of becoming commoditized anyway. So depending on what I want this AI tool to do, I'm probably gonna get a good enough answer depending on which assistant I'm going to talk about my own use of AI. I'll try, and don't worry, CRN not using proprietary data for this, right? Disclaimer. But if there's some article out there and I'm curious to see what an AI tool would have done on a first draft, I'll try it in a Gemini, I'll try it in a Copilot, publicly accessible Copilot, and maybe they'll have slightly different takes on it, but they're all starting to have similar language. I mean, that's why I actually really appreciate that Kelly has that AI disclosure rule for his employees. Cassie and I are both in media, and I think we can kind of recognize now when articles clearly were written with an AI tool. I've kind of become obsessed with these podcasts that are popping up that are using AI voice generation, and
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's really interesting when you look at public use case, because I think it's like you said, is the commodification of the technology. And at the end of the day, a lot of us just want to be more efficient, right? There's so many things to get done in a day. And I don't know anybody who, as my friend Michelle at Pax8 says, I don't know anybody who at the end of the day has everything done on their to-do list, right? And so I think, is it adding to our to-do list, or is it like allowing us to cross off more things and be more efficient? I think only time will tell. But I do think that there is a interesting shift in how we find information, where we can utilize it for efficiency, and then also who has access to it. Because I think I wouldn't be me if I didn't bring in the equity question of who has access to these tools and at what point do they become absolutely essential versus something that it's a nice to have, not necessarily a need to have. And I guess that's going to be my last question to you, Kelly, and to you, Wade. Like, is AI a nice to have, or is it a need to have at this point, midway through 2025?
I think right now it's a you should seriously start thinking about rolling it out. If you don't have some sort of AI policy, your competitor sure does. And so to be in a competitive market, to stay competitive, you have to learn how to use and adopt certain technologies, right? Everyone always says there's a panacea, right? The magic bullet, the single pane of glass, the whatever everyone's, whatever the buzzword is of the day, right? Or the system, whether it's CRMs, whether it's whatever, everything's supposed to make everything more streamlined. And I get where AI may create some front-loaded work, but everyone has tasks that are repetitive. Everyone. I don't care what industry you're in. I don't care what, what, if it's manual labor or if it's, white collar sitting behind a computer. There are repetitive tasks, whether it's things like time reporting, expense reporting, responding timely to a client's request, putting in engineering notes, tracking mileage, tracking this. You can use, with the big language AI, you can use regular vernacular. You can actually talk to some of these agents. You don't have to necessarily, type everything all out. And when you build those bots, when you build those agents, they can help streamline operations, and they can act as a force magnifier. They can also act as, a preliminary screen for things. Everyone hates working with chatbots until they give you the right answer, right? Oh, I hate working with a chatbot. Oh, but it sent me the link on how to, update my reservation on my United flight and change my seat. Okay, well, did it do what you wanted it to do? Yeah. Did it save you like a bunch of time instead of having to queue up at the airport or to, sit on hold with the United help desk for forever? Of course it did. You spent 5 minutes, and if it works, it works. So as they get better, and as you can use regular language with these devices, it's going to make it even easier, right? You can put Copilot agents on your phone. So you can draft an email saying, hey, Copilot, draft me an email that says X, Y, or Z to client whoever, and it'll clean it up, and then it'll read it back to you and say, oh, yeah, that's perfect. Send it on, right? So
Yeah.
it can help with productivity in ways as long as you know where you want to automate.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Wade, AI nice to have or a need to have?
Yeah, I'll go need to have. Definitely the points Kelly is saying, and I'll take it, a step further. I mean, my metaphor of choice has kind of been the calculator. When the calculator emerged, I'm sure there were people that didn't want to use it, didn't trust it, and now, it's just a way of life. So
I learned how to use a slide rule. Just saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Hey, since,
Dial.
fingers still work. Maybe some folks will still want to use Linux, but Windows get you there. So, I mean, I don't know when we'll be looking back and saying, wow, you used to do that by hand instead of just, the tool taking over. Is that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 days from now? Is space moves so fast? I mean, I think that also speaks to why experimenting is so important right now to see, like Kelly said, what workflows should we automate? What doesn't work for us? All that stuff is really important to eliminate and takes time. And if sometimes there is that late adopter advantage to see how these tools get cleaned up, for the future. So it's easier to adopt. But I think all these are important questions to answer now as opposed to later.
If you think about it, AI has been around a lot longer. AI is really just if-then statements, right? Like if this happens, then make this happen, right? It's been around for as long as computers have been around. And, the big language AI has been around a lot longer than people think, right? Like Siri, Alexa, right? Like that is just a common UI that people want. They want to be able to just conversationally interact with their technology. So, this is not something that is radical in thinking. All it is the data set access is what's radical in how it's being set up. If I wanted to be purely scientific and have chemistry, whatever, here's the data sets, you can limit it to that. And then it won't get muddied by somebody out there just messing with you, right? So having an AI instance in your own company where you control the data set, so you control the outputs, that's what is most useful. That's the need to have is I want to have my company be as efficient as possible, produce things that are useful and that have pertinence to what we do, right? Like what my unique company does. If you get your data sets into that and you have them clean, your outputs are going to be based upon what your company, mission statement, goals, objectives, whatever you're selling, that's what will be produced with AI. It's garbage in, garbage out. It's always been with IT. It's only as good as data sets you feed it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, y'all, for your time and your expertise. I think that this conversation on AI is always ever evolving. And I love that we talked about use cases. We talked about cybersecurity, making sure that you're protecting your infrastructure, making sure you have clean data sets, all the things that we need our solution providers and our partners to work with on and for us. So, Kelly, I appreciate your time. Wade, thank you for your expertise. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been The Channel Angle.